All right. I think it's working. So I'll do a quick overview of the purpose of the interview, and then we'll introduce you, and then go from there.
Okay.
Hey, Wenatchee and Central Washington, this is David Kaler. I am one of the leaders of a brand new church that's coming this fall called Hope Church For Wenatchee. And our launch team wanted to put together a video project called Finding Hope for Wenatchee. And so what we're doing is interviewing a number of some of the key business and church leaders here in Wenatchee, and just asking them how they are processing this moment with COVID, and in the middle of it all, how they're finding hope in this season. And so I have with me Sam. Is it Chapin? Am I saying it right, Sam?
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. General manager over at Cafe Mela, the best coffee in town. I apologize if I'm stepping on any toes there, but amazing coffee place and food and other things. And then Sam and his wife, Rosie, are also leaders down at Grace City Church as well. So Sam, thanks so much for doing this with us. And maybe just start off by giving a quick overview of your organization that you help run, your role in it.
Yeah. Well, great to be here, and thanks for having me, David. So I help out with, like you said, Cafe Mela. So our downtown cafe. There's a roasting and wholesale facility and business that's on the side of that that I help do the marketing and sales for. And then we've also got kind of under that same umbrella of businesses, For a Coffee, which is a different company, different brand, but interconnected with those. And so I help run that as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love the 4A concept. Okay, sorry. Just take like 30 seconds and plug 4A because it's such a cool new coffee concept.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, what it is it's 100% app-based ordering and payment, and the orders are timed to your arrival. So the way that we set it up is we innovated a number of the processes for making the same coffee that you'd get at our cafe. So hopefully that same level of quality, but we use the time that it takes for you to get there to time it so that you don't have to wait in line for your coffee, but it's made just before you arrive. So all of the ordering, all of the payment processing happens on the app, so that when you pull up, it's just ready for you and you're ready to go. So, and something that has been extremely helpful for us is there's no money exchange, there's no card exchange, all of it happens on the app. So it's actually been pretty helpful for us, even in this season, to have that be a nice touch point for customers.
Isn't that amazing? It's like you designed it. That is amazing. And the other thing that's really fun about it, and just really cool about experiencing it, is there's hardly ever a lineup because of the way that process works. So
yeah, exactly.
It's really amazing. Hey, Sam, would you be willing to share a little bit about how COVID has impacted your organization? And then even if you don't, if you're willing to share how it's impacted you personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for a ton of small businesses, we are the same in that it's had a big effect on a number of our different things. Like I said, the three sort of businesses that I work within, the wholesale side has been affected with other businesses being closed, restaurants and hotels and businesses that we service. And then obviously our cafe, with all the restrictions that have been put on, that business has just pretty much been cut down to a very small operation compared to what it was. So that definitely, we've felt the effect of that in a big way, of the unfortunate thing of all of a sudden there's business as usual, and then a week later you're laying off 75%, 80% of your staff, saying, hey, this is unfortunately just where we are. We'll hire you back as soon as we can, and hopefully we'll weather this thing and be on the other side of it soon. So definitely that being a hard thing. And then just also as different information has come out as far as the regulations that are in place and the phases to get reopened and all the different hoops to jump through to continue to try and stay in business. Just to reel with those and try and understand how to play within those well has been challenging, but we're thankful because we've been able to stay open across the board, which has been nice. But definitely, yeah, just I think probably the hardest thing is just being so unsure of what the future looks like. What will normal look like in the future? What will it look like to try and reopen
Wow.
a restaurant business? What will it be like for other restaurant businesses that we service? What will customers be comfortable with? So definitely, yeah, a lot of just unsure of knowing what that's going to look like as we move forward. But one thing has been, like we mentioned, I mean, just providentially, Foray being in a position to be able to serve customers well in a safe way that that we can really limit any exposure. That was something that obviously, we couldn't have planned by any stretch. So to have it fall together like that for us, we're extremely grateful for that. To have the business actually grow in this season, I think is just nothing short of the Lord working in that, just helping us out. So that's been cool.
Wow, that's amazing. You described just an incredible level of uncertainty that you guys are dealing with, and I think a lot of us can empathize with that and are going through that exact same thing right now. Just incredible uncertainty. How are you processing that, Sam?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for us, it's kind of, you plan as well as you can, looking out into the future to say, how are we going to weather and put in contingencies and try to put a good plan together as we look forward. But part of that is also you do that, but then you just have to take it a day at a time and just kind of as different things come out, as different information and the way that even our government is regulating the opening of different things, you're just kind of taking it day by day to see, okay, what can we do today? What does it look like as we kind of project out into the future? But in part of it is too, just remaining thankful for where we're at. That it's like, I have gotten to go to work every day since this thing started. And for me, that is, I'm extremely grateful for that, because that's not the common experience for a lot of people. So I think that's a big thing, is just taking it a step at a time and going, okay, hey, this is not ideal, but it's not ideal for anyone. So what are those things that you go, hey, we're grateful to be here. We're grateful to be at work. We're grateful that we can still be moving in this direction. So that's been helpful as we've looked at that uncertainty and kind of looked forward at what next steps are. Is it's like, okay, great, we're going to plan, but we're going to take it sort of incrementally and be glad that we're still able to even have that as a something we're looking at doing into the future.
Yeah. Sam, where are you finding hope right now in the middle of all that's going on?
Yeah, man, I think the biggest place would be trying to tap into getting my perspective out of my own sort of limited view that I have, and trying to tap into the way that the Lord sees what's happening with what's going on. We live in a linear time experience where we just go from moment to moment and we see what we can see and we know what we know, where the Lord lives outside of that continuum, and he works in such a more complex and dynamic and inner working than I could ever imagine or even comprehend. But to get my mind there going, that man, he's at work in this, doing so many more things that are so much bigger than my situation or my specific exact details of what's going on in my life, that there is so much more at work. So knowing that it's a complex environment, and the Lord's will is so dynamic and so complex that it's not just this, hey, this is bad and this is good. It's him working in it. And I think something that's given me a lot of hope is a revelation of how the Lord takes things that are seemingly bad and dark, and it's almost like kind of an elastic relationship, that depending on how far down or deep or dark they are, that energy that takes them down, I believe the Lord uses
Wow.
sort of like, it's like judo kick or whatever. That it's like that same energy that is using something for evil, that the Lord can just reverse that and turn it into something good, and maybe even better than it ever could have been, just in His character, who He is, how He takes the darkest and worst things and turns them into beautiful, amazing pictures. I think it just speaks to His glory. It speaks to how He loves us. It speaks to His character and who He is. And I believe He's doing that with this situation. It's like the word unprecedented has become so cliche, because every day we go forward is unprecedented. But although that it is true, these are weird times, they're weird days that we're all experiencing, and that's where I believe the Lord is using these things to work in them for ultimately some amazing outcomes, some great good that He's using with a seemingly really dark season.
Wow, that is so good. I love that. Sam, what are some practical things that you're doing right now through this season? Maybe both personally and on the business side to try to navigate through this season.
Yeah. For us on the business side, I think, like I said, we're trying to take it as a season to say, as much as we can, we want to keep pushing forward in any place that we can. And it's kind of like we're grateful for today. We're grateful for what we can do today. We're going to do everything we possibly can do that is within the scope of what's okay and right now. And we're going to push for that. We're going to plan for the future and continue to move forward until we see otherwise. So I think for us, it would have been easy to kind of sit back and go, hey, let's just kind of take a look and batten down the hatches and weather this thing. And in some ways, we certainly have had to do that. But I think we've just all been grateful that we've been able to continue to plan, continue to push, continue to hire people back as we've been able to in certain places. So I think just looking at it as, okay, what is the opportunity today? And that's going to be different depending on the day. It's going to be different depending on which of the three businesses we're talking about. But just saying, okay, what can we do? And then also looking out and going, okay, with the opportunities that we have, what can we plan for? What can we look at as we're going forward, that then hopefully when things start to pick up again, we're in a place to, again, be able to move forward. So I think that's been a helpful thing. And then just like being more in touch with our team, just being saying, hey, we're a smaller team now. And so how can we be supporting one another? How can we be depending on one another? How can we be encouraging and just surrounding one another in a way that we kind of couldn't as much before, or maybe we weren't emphasizing as much before. So that's been huge. That's been a big one for us. And then for me personally, it's been a season of thinking about alternative ways to stay in touch with people. Obviously, for my wife and my son, we've been spending a ton of time together, and that's been great. But as far as other socializing, that's been cut down in a big way. So thinking, being more intentional with phone calls and text messages and hopping on, Skype calls and different things just to stay in touch and to keep up with people. It's been a fun opportunity to stay in touch with people even that are out of town that I haven't talked to as much, just because there's not a lot going on. It's Friday night and it's like, hey, we're at home, so can we hop on and play a game over Skype or whatever? And we've done that a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So total uber practical fun question is, what's been the funnest online game that you figured out how to play?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. Dominion has been the best one. I don't know if you've played the card game Dominion. So yeah, I've never played it before this, but my wife's brother and sister-in-law, they play it a lot, and they figured out it's kind of a card deck building game. Okay. And you're able to play because you're playing on the same cards, and you just talk about, okay, we've got these ones in front of us. So actually the interplay is great and super fun. So
that's cool. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. When we eventually emerge from this time, what are you hoping is different inside of you? What are you hoping has changed, and then that you take out of this time, this season?
I think for me, it would just be maybe a better awareness of all the things that I have in my life to be grateful for that are so easy to take for granted. That a season like this, something as simple as a handshake or a hug or just genuine interaction with other people, you take for granted so easily because it's been there every day for your entire life. But then when it's gone, it's like, oh man, I really miss that. I significantly miss getting together, with our church family. I significantly miss seeing our immediate family and our close friends and community. And so I think that will be something that just to cherish those and to not take those things for granted would be something that I definitely want to take away. And then also that whole piece of wanting to look at things, whether it's difficult circumstances in my life or difficult circumstances on a grander scale, to not maybe be overwhelmed or like sit underneath the weight of those, but to understand that we serve a God who is so far bigger than any of those things and in control and in power. And he's not just observing, that he's working in those things for our good and for our benefit, in the way that he loves us, and that he's actually turning them into beneficial things in our lives. So to see things like this, I mean, I've definitely had different points in this whole thing where it's like, I just want to see my family. I just want to get back to some sense of normalcy, and I'm frustrated with how things are being handled, and, just the gamut of different emotions and experiences. So I think to come away from something like this, a very unique experience for all of us, and to go, okay, Lord, I'm in step with understanding that you're working in this, and okay, how can I look for what you're doing? How can I see those positive outcomes that are spinning out of something that seems really tough, seems very difficult, and looks terrible from the outside? But where are you working in it? How can I get on board at your perspective with what you're doing with this thing, and see the way that you're moving and working in the midst of it? That, it'd be easy to sit there and just go, man, are you in control? Do you still sit on the throne? What's going on? This is crazy and difficult, because those are, I think, real, honest, gut level questions that are being asked.
They're all thoughts that we're having to process, right?
Absolutely.
They're coming at us and bombarding our brains. So yeah, those are real
Yeah.
questions that we're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, especially, I mean, people have had extremely difficult circumstances as a result of this whole thing. I feel fortunate. My circumstances have not been very harsh at all. So, but to be in that place of understanding, okay, what are you doing, Lord? What are you doing in the midst of all of this? And how can I get my perspective in that place to see the positivity, to see the stuff that you're doing, and go, okay, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing what God can do, and I can get on board with it. I can even be a part of that positive change that comes out of something very difficult like this season.
Yeah, so good, so good. Sam, last question: Is there anything that, if you had the chance to sit down with somebody that's just here in Wenatchee, or share with Wenatchee, what would you want to say to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that as much as you can, to try and use this season as something that can be a catalyst for positive change in your life. So for some people, I think it's been as simple as spending more time with people that they love. I think it's been as simple as saying, hey, I've got an extended amount of time that I didn't have before, so now I can kind of reassess different areas of my life and sort of make a plan for how I want to move forward. For other people, I think it's maybe had more difficult repercussions that have come as a result of just like we're talking about, the tough trials that are a result of something like this. So even if that's been the case, I think it's looking at this situation and going, man, what came from it? What happened during it? How can it actually serve as a catalyst of something that can result in my positive change? How can it result in my development as a person, as a believer, as a community member, as a member of my family? what are the elements of it that maybe it's like I read a book for the first time because I had time, or I picked up a new hobby or an exercise, or did something during the season that was great because I just had the time to do it. How can that learning or that process be multiplied as we move back into normal life, and maybe learning some of those lessons during the season that we maybe didn't have time or just didn't have the focus to be able to do when life is kind of running at a normal pace?
Yeah. So good. I love it. I love it. Well, Sam, thank you so much for hopping onto Zoom with me and sharing a little bit of your story right now and how you're processing this moment. I think it's going to be a real encouragement to folks. I know it's been encouraging to me. I loved what you said about the darker it is, the brighter the bounce back's going to be. It's kind of like that picture of the moment right before sunrise. They say is the darkest moment of the night, right?
Yeah.
I think most of us who have journeyed through life for any length of time have had through a number of seasons like this. It's just unique in that we're all going through it together all at the same time, you know? So yeah, that's so good, so encouraging. So thank you. Lord bless you. So excited with everything that's going on, especially with the new 4A concept. So it's exciting to see what's going to develop there.
Yeah. Well, thanks, David. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. All right, bro. See ya.
Okay.
The awkward moment when you have to try to figure out how to end this thing.
That's right.